Hi, Peter Jones, Chartered Surveyor, author and property investor, and in this short series of videos we're thinking about property tax. Now just to set the scene, in the old days things used to be relatively straightforward. Now I'm saying that a little bit tongue-in-cheek because I don't think with tax anything is ever totally straightforward, but it was quite easy to work out what we needed to do. So for example, if you were going to buy properties as buy-to-lets, and if you were going to hold them and rent them out, then the best way of doing that usually was to hold them in your own name, to buy the properties in your own name and then to hold them. Why was that? Because if you had genuinely and legitimately owned the properties as investments for a period of time, and you'd have to talk to your accountant as to what made it legitimate, but usually 6 months to a year was okay because you'd actually held the property as an investment, then when you came to sell, because the property was in your own name, you'd be able to use your capital gains tax allowance. Now, at the time of recording this video, that's about 11 grand or so. So 11 grand or so of your profit would be tax-free. That'd be quite handy. And of course, what you could do if you wanted to increase the tax efficiency of your property holdings is if you could perhaps buy them jointly with a significant other, your spouse, your wife, your lover, whoever, I don't know, your business partner, and then you could both use your capital gains tax allowance. So that was if you were buying properties to hold. If you were buying properties to trade, in other words to flip, in other words to sell on, then things were a little bit different. Now this quite often confuses people because you would think that if you're going to buy a property, for example, and then increase the value, because you've increased the capital value, then surely you would be subject to capital gains tax. But actually it didn't work like that. Life isn't as simple as that. Because the way that HMRC, or as we might know them, the Inland Revenue, would look at it, is that they would look at it as being a trade. And if it's a trade, then it's an income-producing activity, not a capital-producing activity. So what would happen is, if you were going to go into flipping properties regularly, you wouldn't be able to offset the profit against capital gains tax. HMRC would want to charge you income tax. Now, as I say, that can sound a little bit confusing because you think it all revolves around the capital value of the property. Doesn't matter. Now, here's the thing. HMRC aren't mugs, so it comes down to intention. If they thought that you started your business with the intention of flipping and trading properties, then although you might get away with the first one, note I use the word might. It might be that HMRC would say, hang on a sec, we don't care how many of these you've done or how many you say you've done. The fact is that even if you've done none before and this is your first one, you went into it with the intention of starting a trade. And so therefore we are going to charge you income tax from the outset. Now your accountant may be able to argue with them that the first one was a bit of a one-off. I don't know, you'd have to talk to your accountant about that. But fairly quickly into the process, HMRC are going to start charging you income tax. So the received wisdom was that if you're going to trade properties, you'd want to do that through a limited company. Why? Because quite simply, it was the most tax efficient way of doing it. Corporation tax, which is what a limited company would be charged, is currently at 19%, and the government have said that they want to take it down to 17% by 2020. Whether they do or not obviously depends upon whether this government survives, because another government coming in, without getting political, has said that they'd like to increase corporation tax because they think it's too low. So who knows what's going to happen in the future, but as things stand today, corporation tax at 19% is less than income tax, and it's particularly a lot less than the higher rates of income tax, and so that made it more tax efficient. Now, there are various problems with that which we'll think about in a video later in this series. But in the old days, that was basically it. If you're going to buy and hold, then do it in your own name, and then you can take the advantage of capital gains tax allowances. If you're going to flip trade, then do it through a limited company, because that was the most tax efficient way. Now, in terms of flipping and trading, that advice probably hasn't changed. Now, I should sort of add, as an extra to all of this, of course, you need to think about your own personal circumstances, which everybody's circumstances are going to be different. This is just me musing on the subject. This isn't tax advice, so you need to talk to your accountant. But for most people, it was considered that that was the way to do it. So in your own name for buy-to-lets, and in a limited company for flipping. And if you're flipping today, at the date of this video, probably that's still the best way to do it as well. So until next time, here's to successful property investing.